Colleen Boselli is a strengths strategist. She loves nothing more than helping people learn and understand how to effectively maximize their unique strengths. After a successful prior career as an advertising agency executive, Colleen launched her own executive coaching practice in 2001. She now works with individuals, corporate teams, women's groups, academic institutions, nonprofits, retirees, and even oncology patients to help all of these people function from a position of genuine strength. Organizations like Google, LinkedIn, Thomson Reuters, the Red Sox, Talbots, TJX Companies, CBS, and State Street Corporation all tap into Colleen for her expertise in this exciting field of positive psychology. A busy mother of 4, Colleen has learned, as she will explain, that life truly begins when you use your strengths effectively. Please join me in welcoming our strengths guru, Colleen Boselli.
Ladies, and you few lucky gentlemen that are fortunate to be at this conference today, I have a dream. Much like my hero, Martin Luther King, I have a dream. And my dream is for each and every one of you that you leave here today deeply curious about your own strengths. That you begin to know what your strengths are and how you can use those strengths to live a life that is full, and that you know how, when you have an obstacle in front of you, you know how to use your strengths to address that obstacle. When you have an opportunity presenting itself, you know how to use your strengths to achieve that opportunity. And also, very importantly, that you understand that when you know your strengths, you recognize that other people have different strengths. And I think today you may learn that there are ways to tolerate people who might be just a little bit different from you. And I'm going to get you there today. I'm going to get you thinking about these things. But before I take you on that journey, I want to tell you a little bit about my journey and how I came to be standing here today. Essentially, it all started with a phone call. A number of years ago, I received a phone call from my cousin Kathy. Like me, she was in her late 30s. She has 4 sisters. And she called to tell me that not only did one of her sisters, Kelly, have stage 1 breast cancer, but because Kelly was diagnosed, the other sisters went out to get checked, and Eileen, sister number 2, also had breast cancer. And there I was, sitting in my corporate corner office, the woman who thought she could have it all. I could have a 6-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 3-month-old, and an impending move to London. But I went home that night and I thought, I should probably do a self-breast exam, because maybe I can't have it all. 3 days later, I was with a breast surgeon who diagnosed me with stage 3 breast cancer that had spread to my lymph nodes. And from that day forward, life as I knew it changed. I'm very lucky, blessed, to be standing here in front of you today. And I don't want anything like that to happen to any of you. And I want to tell you about the journey that I've taken since that time that has helped me feel strong and more sure that the reason that I have been given this second chapter, this second life, this opportunity to stand up here in front of you today is to help you understand how you too can know what your strengths are and use them to your advantage. So, what is a strength? A strength is something that you perform well, that you get a lot of energy from using, and that you use frequently. And we all have strengths. And there are many ways to think about our strengths. We all have strengths that we realize. A realized strength is something that you do use well, use frequently, and get a lot of energy from using. So you all have realized strengths, those strengths in your toolkit that you pull out most frequently, kind of your common sense lens on the world. And most of the time, your realized strengths serve you quite well, because they've probably gotten you to where you are right now. But there are times when each and every one of us overuse or misuse our realized strengths, simply because it feels really right to pull those tools out of our toolkit. So one of the things we need to think about today is, what strengths do you have that serve you well, and what strengths might you overuse? So we're going to talk about that. I also want you to think about, what strengths do you have that drain you? We all have strengths that serve us well, and we all have strengths that no matter how many times people say, oh, you're so good at that, can you do it again? Or, oh, we're going to promote you, you're so good at this. We love to have you keep doing this. And you may be really good at that, but it's draining for you. So it's important you think about, how can you moderate those strengths that drain you? So we're going to talk about that today. And then all of us, let's face it, we all have weaknesses. There are some things we're just not good at, and even if we were good at it, we don't like doing it anyway. But sometimes those weaknesses manifest themselves and make us a little vulnerable. So how can we use our strengths to help compensate for that weakness vulnerability? So we're going to talk about that. And then lastly, I want you to be thinking, what strengths might you have that are not realized? What strengths do you have that are, for whatever reason, sitting there behind you, kind of in your hip pocket, and are tools that you're not using, not realizing in your toolkit? And I'm going to get you thinking about that a little bit today too. And I'd like to kind of bring this to life for you a little bit by showing you my strengths profile. I'm a fan of a tool called the R2 Strengths Profiler. So I'm going to show you my R2 Strengths Profiler just to illustrate some of the points that I'm making. So this chart here shows you in this upper right quadrant my realized strengths. Those strengths I said that I perform well, get a lot of energy from using, and use most frequently. So for me, that starts with my work ethic. I am the person who, if you're a friend or a colleague of mine, might be sending you emails at midnight. Probably not the smartest way for me to use my time, but I get a lot of energy from my work ethic. Order is one of my realized energizing strengths. I love going to bed at night when my house is nice and tidy and my to-do list is relatively balanced for the next day. That is something that gives me a lot of energy. I stand up here today because esteem building and enabling are my strengths. This, to me, is tremendous joy to be up here to get you thinking about how you can be confident in yourself and how you can leave here today and able to do something new and different. Those also give me energy. And then lastly, service. Why am I standing up here today? Because this is a chance for me, very energetically, to service you, give you some new thoughts you can take forward. These are my realized strengths. Now, when I was introducing myself, I made mention of the fact that I had an impending move to London. This was back when I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Well, it didn't happen at that time. Fast forward to 8 years later, my husband's with another company. That employer, out of the blue, says, would you like to move to London? So it was meant to happen at another time. But at that time of my life, I had 4 children, as you might imagine, kicking and screaming about the idea of moving to London. So here I am, right? I've survived breast cancer. I've got my executive coaching business now thriving. And I've got 4 kids kicking and screaming, moving to London. In my strength toolkit here are 2 draining strengths, planfulness and reconfiguration. So what do? That first year that we're there, I spent a lot of time right here. Where's the dry cleaners? Where can I find Cheerios? How do we get a driver's license? Am I sending enough emails home? Does everybody have what they want? And this is draining for me, because this is really where I like to be, all right? So, what happens? I give this some thoughts, right? And I think about, what would it take for me to start feeling like the real Colleen again? And for me, with that work ethic strength, that meant getting back to work. So as soon as I started using my esteem builder strength with my clients again, started servicing my clients again, started getting my life back in the order that I appreciated it, all of a sudden I felt much more myself again. I was using my strengths toolkit productively. And one other thing I want you to think about are my unrealized strengths. So I said we have strengths that we use, not very often for whatever reasons. I have 3 strengths that sit over here in kind of my unrealized strength quadrant. My strength of creativity, my strength of staying centered and zen. I can be good at it, I don't do it often enough. And my sense of mission. To me, it's really important to know what my purpose and what my value is. So back when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and after I made it through that year of chemotherapy and radiation and multiple surgeries, I knew I really wanted to get back to work, to do something that made me feel that I was back to myself again. But all this tremendous time that I spent servicing the people in my ad agency, staying up late at night, sending them emails, building people's self-esteem, I know, without a doubt, had a lot to do with me becoming sick. So I thought, all right, can I reduce dependency 10% on these strengths that have been giving me a lot of energy, and perhaps find 10% or more time to be using some of my unrealized strengths? What would my life look like if I were to take my life mission and really live my purpose, really become a strengths coach and really help people? So that's one way that I made these unrealized strengths valuable. And then lastly, I said we all have weaknesses. Showing up for me here is competition and courage. As you might imagine, it takes a little bit of courage, a lot of courage, from someone who doesn't have a lot of courage to stand up here and speak in front of you today. So what do? Thinking about it from a strengths perspective, I have to attach a couple of my energizing, realized and or unrealized strengths to this courage. Almost reframe my courage to say, you know, I can stand up here energetically today. It's really not about courage. It's about servicing all of you, helping you build your self-esteem, helping you know what strengths are in your toolkit. So this is my strengths profile. And my dream today is that each of you leave here deeply curious and with a fire in your belly to figure out, well, what are my strengths? So if I'm facing a work-life balance challenge, or I'm facing a manager who's frustrating me, or I'm facing tasks on my to-do list that just don't seem to get off that bottom of the list and get undertaken, what can you tap into that's going to give you the confidence that you need and the tools you need to make that happen? And I'd like to suggest a couple of things that you can do. The first is that before you leave here today, after I finish speaking and before our next speaker begins her talk, I'm going to hand each one of you a card. And on this card is an opportunity for you to write down a few of your strengths. Undoubtedly, as you heard me talking here today, you must have been thinking, well, what are my strengths? So I'd like you to take this card, and I'd like you to write down on it 5 or more of your strengths. You might see one of my strengths is also one of your strengths, but maybe you're action-oriented. Maybe you're someone who needs to incubate, to think for a while. Maybe you are adventuresome. Maybe you get a lot of energy from building rapport with other people. Maybe you're really good at listening. Maybe you're really driven, or you like to grow, or you like to learn. When you take this card, I want you to write 5 or more of your strengths on that card, and I want you to stick it in your purse or in your briefcase. And later today or tomorrow, when something is on your to-do list and you're having a little challenge getting started, not sure where to begin, someone's frustrating you, whatever it might be, I want you to pull that card out of your bag and take a look at your strengths toolkit and say, how could I confidently get myself started with this? And if this profile is something that intrigues you, then I invite you to go to my website. And on my website, you will see a link to the R2 Strengths profile, which for a very small amount of money, which goes to the organization that very intelligently created this, you too can have a profile like this that will enable you to really think deeply about your strengths and how you can use those productively. And in closing, I'd like to quote a colleague of mine, Alex Lindley, who is the director of the Center for Applied Positive Psychology in the UK. And Alex so wisely says, when people understand the impact and significance of working from their strengths, the shift is huge. And once that realization is there, it cannot be reversed, and change has begun. I hope that you leave here today with that change and with your card, and you begin to take the action that will help you confidently overcome your obstacles and seize your opportunities. Thank you.